Look within. Look within. Look within. And live your life. And live your life on the edge of two worlds. A reality where you find true understanding of who you are. Take the step into the unknown with Alexander McCaig and Jason Rigby as they explore the thinly veiled world of consciousness, spirit, and the human condition. Join them in embodying the oneness of all. Walk the cliff's edge between the seen and the unseen realities. Welcome to High Density Living.
And we're back with the Higher Density Living podcast. Alex, I want to talk about, let's hit it right off the bat, because there's a huge, if we go right now and we pulled everybody out of Whole Foods and we set them in the section and we say, what do you think about genetically modified food or GMOs? And we see the little label now that says non-GMO.
What an organic trigger, huh?
and I was reading an article, and it's even amongst the
go ahead,
scientists.
Yeah.
And so there's two plant molecular biologists, and they even have different views on it. And I know you have a view, and we're going to get into that. But Robert Goldberg said that he was so worried about it that he said that there's these Frankenstein monsters that are crawling out of the lab, that these companies and corporations like Monsanto or these others are creating.
Yeah.
And then you have another, David Williams, a cellular biologist, and he's saying that it's amazing what's happening, and that what we're creating, this is what he said. He said a lot of naive science has been involved in pushing this technology. 30 years ago, we didn't know that when you threw any gene into a different genome, the genome reacts to it. But now anyone in the field knows the genome is not a static environment. Inserted genes can be transformed by several different means, and it can happen generations later. The results, he insists, could very well be potentially toxic plants slipping through the testing. So there's this whole, like the funding and where that's coming from with, GMOs. So there's this big scare factor. So I want you to bring facts to this if you can.
Yeah, this is a really interesting field. And I have somewhat of a strange outlook on this. As you know, I'm a vegan, right? So let's put me in a box right there. All right, let's label me on that. GMOs, I think, are a fabulous thing. But I don't eat any right now. So how is it that I could be such a hypocrite? Because when we look at GMOs are a technology. And they're a technology so that we can solve some social issues and some economical issues that deal with large farming operations. How do we make crops more robust to blight, more resilient to drought, right? How to stop insects from going on the bugs and eating them so that we can keep our yields high so that the farmer can receive a better profit. So that means every seed you sow, whether it guarantees that it sprouts or it guarantees its longevity as it goes into grain storage, will be there so that later on, what you've invested in that time will pay you back later. So the people that fund the GMO side of things are looking from an economic incentive that they can receive a higher pay later, right? Now, on the other side of the coin, we have people who are like, okay, when we look at GMOs, and we've looked at some of the stuff in the past, and they talk about Frankenstein-type, crops and things like that, and how they could be toxic. Well, the toxicity dealt with a certain type of genome that put a protein in plants, so that when a bug would bite into the plant, it would cause the intestinal structure of the bug to explode internally, causing it to die. So it was a natural pesticide without having to spray the crops.
And that's really important because we're finding links to the pesticides that they're spraying.
And leaky gut syndrome and a bunch of other things. That makes sense, right? And their contention was, okay, so if the bug eating this plant, has this detrimental, death toll effect to it, if I'm consuming large amounts of whatever this crop might be that's genetically modified, this same sort of thing is having an effect on my gut. It's making it erode from the inside out, causing my nutrients to leach outside of the gut wall I have in my body, killing the good bacteria and things of that nature. And that causes a whole variety, a plethora of health problems I would have in the first place. And that has been one of the largest things people have grabbed onto in the GMO sector. Outside of problems with, crushing small farmers and like Monsanto and like them charging for seeds and you have to buy new ones each year rather than recycling a plant's seeds.
There's actually a company that's saving seeds.
That's saving seeds, right? We have seed storage, whether it's semen or eggs. I don't know if they're called zygotes in women. I don't know what the hell it is. And we save those up in the Arctic. There's big DNA banks for stuff like that. And we also save crops.
But I mean, there's a company that's out there that's trying to find original seeds,
right?
Like from the source, and then saving those. You can purchase them too. There's like a seed exchange, but where they even I think they can go far back as Mayan seeds,
which is it's just really cool.
Yeah,
I think one of the founders of Xbox recently found an old yeast variant that was used in making bread in ancient Egypt. And he used that ancient yeast to bake a loaf of bread now, and he said it was the most magnificent thing he's ever had. That's besides the point.
Oh, that's awesome.
Kind of neat. So we're looking at these two different things here. So let's stick with the Frankenstein crop. From one, there's an economic incentive for farmers and larger monocropping operations, which means that you see huge farms of just one type of crop. That is called monocropping, right? And because of its inflexibility, when things like there might be disease that spreads or things of that nature, you can lose the entire crop because it's not spread out in the genetic variants of maybe 3 or 4 types of corn. You only have one type, that there can be a huge loss on that yield. So how is it that we can continue to have these massive farming operations with these monocrops, but protect our yields, right? So that's the economic part. And then the other side, people are, like I said, worried about the leaky gut syndrome. And that has been a huge feared marketing thing on that side. And so where do I find myself as a vegan? I find myself sitting in the middle. Why? Because I'm a proponent for genetically modified crops. And let me tell you why. Not for the fact of increasing the crop yields am I a proponent for genetically modified organisms. I'm a proponent for GMOs because I want it to ease the absorption of enzymes in my body and how I break that food down to make it more efficient. So I'm not here to change the technology in the genome of the crop to make it more resilient to things outside that are happening, but I'm doing it so that I can absorb the nutrients faster in my body and in a more efficient manner so I can get all of the vitamins and enzymes rather than only a slight few that I would typically receive maybe off of an organic crop, right?
Right.
So I find myself in this weird middle point where it's like I'm a proponent for it only on the basis of not from an economic yield, but from a physiological yield of I will absorb my enzymes and nutrients at a higher and more efficient rate than I otherwise would. So we find that in our societal thing, we're stagnating the growth of genetically modified organisms because of this fear-based things in the research we've had in the past for how it works on that protein in killing bugs and our leaky gut syndrome. And it's preventing us from actually using what is actually quite an incredible technology to find something that truly increases the health benefits of us at food, right? So maybe having a rice base that is very easy to grow, but this rice can cure blindness in people in other countries because it has an increase in the nutrient profile they otherwise wouldn't have.
Right.
Outside of the fact that it might be robust, right? And that is when I'm a proponent for GMOs.
But what people don't realize is when you add a virus DNA to a plant, for millions of years that's been happening. I mean, wheat in and of itself is a cross-species hybrid.
Yes, of course it is.
So this has been happening. If I'm of a tribe and I migrate 3,000 miles away over a long period of time, and through that process I'm bringing these different seeds.
Yeah.
And then you have all this migration back and forth. It happens where it has to inject a virus into it so that it can keep and be sustainable wherever it's at. So
right.
When you introduce new soil types and
it evolves, right?
Right.
Over a very natural process. And you can accelerate the evolutionary process of that without injecting proteins that may have a negative effect on the body, right? Or things that may increase the yields, but what you're looking at is, okay, don't fear the fact that we have the technology to make something better, but do it with not the incentive of cash on hand, but actually increasing the nutrient profile of that food without having a negative effect. Let's look at dogs, for instance, or any sort of animal. What you find is that when you crossbreed the animals, right, when you get a mutt, it has less physiological health problems
right.
than you would find on a purebred.
Right.
Why? Because you're isolating genes, and over time they become weaker because they're not being tested or strained or combined with things that are what you would say is unnatural to it. So if you apply that same concept of what genetically happens with dogs that are purebred versus a mutt and their health conditions, apply that same sort of technology to food, but you're doing it at an accelerated rate with GMOs. So it's not something you necessarily want to fear, but you need to accept the fact that it is a technology, and it's how do you want to apply that technology with the best intentions. And that intention is solving world hunger, blindness, increasing your nutrient absorption so that you don't have to eat as much. You could actually eat less, which means we ship less. We have less of an environmental effect from this farming and moving these things around back and forth and packaging them, right? It doesn't need to be there. So there's a lot of good that comes from GMOs if you engineer it in the proper format where it's not dangerous to the body.
Well, I like what David Zilberman said. He's a UC Berkeley agriculture and environmental economist. And one of the things that he said is that, and he was, going exactly what you were saying, is that you can increase farmer safety because they're using less pesticide.
Yes.
You raise the output of like corn, cotton, soil by 20-30%. But the main thing is when it becomes more adopted around the world, the price of food will go lower and few people are going to die of hunger. But what is happening is you have, people getting this false information and then turning around, and now you have countries that are banning, GMO foods. But what he gets into is that what we don't realize, by 2050, the world will have to grow 70% more food by 2050. And so he looks at it with climate change, and he turns around and says, with climate change, it's going to make the world's arable land more difficult to farm by 2050. So GM crops, he says, could produce higher yields, grow in dry and salty land,
right,
withstand high and low temperatures, and tolerate insects, disease, and herbicides.
Right.
So,
and if you could do that, right, if you could genetically modify something so it won't have a detrimental effect to you, think of lemongrass and mosquitoes. The energetic signature of that scent is picked up by the mosquitoes, and they tend to stay away from lemongrass, right? Or like a citronella candle. So you could have something that may release a scent, right? You could apply lemongrass into the vegetable, and that wouldn't have a harmful effect on your body, right? Now you're splicing genes between two things to make a crop that would organically keep something away from it without having to spray a synthetic pesticide on top of it, right? Now, when we're looking at these GMOs, and you go into the store, I am a proponent for eating organic foods,
right?
Because at this moment, right now, in our technology, that is the best option. Because our technology took a route that wasn't so great with the genetically modified organisms, and it wasn't coherent with how it should work with human beings. It was more of a financial gain that needed to happen. So now we can take it back a sliver and let's look at, okay, how can we really help people with this, right? And that's a different type of engineering technology we need to look at. And Jason, when you talk about people starving globally, that's not what kills people. On a global level, the number one killer, and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation know this, is mosquitoes.
Right.
And why does mosquitoes, why are they killing people? It's because
they're the number one killer for an animal.
Right, for an animal, right?
Right.
It's because when you have a lack of nutrients in your food, you don't have the energy and the white blood cell count in your body to fight what the mosquitoes are actually biting people with, which causes them to have these fevers and kill them.
Right.
So the mosquito's the number one killer, but that's a function of the lack of the nutrient profile in the food. A lot of these people eat a good amount of food in third world countries, but it lacks the proper nutrient profile that they're looking for, and they're missing that. So if you can genetically modify something to give them that entire complex carbohydrate nutrient profile with the protein in place, then you can actually, prolong their life. You can decrease the death rate from that lack of nutrients and mosquitoes killing people, right? So then you have a lot of good that can happen with a GMO.
There was a guy by the name of Mark Linus, and he was one of the most prominent anti-GM activists, and he switched to become strong in supporting it. And he was in the UK, and 53 people died from an infected organic bean sprout. We're seeing spinach and, these different things that are happening on the organic side.
53 people died. Millions of people die every day, and then a smaller subset of that die from either lack of food or lack of nutrients, right? So I know the media is going to hyper-focus on 53 people, but from a larger aspect of helping humanity, right, that's going to be a function of engineering crops are finding something that helps people in these areas to give them what we have so much ready access to.
And in actuality, these 53 people died from a non-GM crop.
Makes sense. Things can get infected.
Organic, yeah.
Things get infected, right? Like anything else. If you have a little garden outside of your house, and then all these caterpillars start showing up, or your leaves start turning yellow, there's an infection that happens, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nothing you can do about it. That's nature, and it's an organic crop. So, that may be the price you pay, but that's a function of quality control before it gets shipped out.
That could be a soil issue.
Yeah, it's not. Let's not blame the plant.
Right.
It's not the plant's damn fault. You know what I mean?
I've seen people release praying mantises to kill.
Yeah.
You can buy a bunch of praying mantises and they'll come in there and just...
Yeah, so
there's lots of different scenarios.
Don't blame the organic food. You would look at the quality control before they came to a store or the people were out to buy it, right? And if was there any other points that they had touched on in there?
Yeah, they talk about... one of the biggest things that they talk about is that a lot of the studies... is not exactly like they haven't been able to link deaths specifically to GMO food. So, a lot of it is like a scare tactic, or like these documentaries that they're doing now, where, I'm happy that you're, vegan, and we're going to get into that in just a second. We're going to switch. But, you see these documentaries, and then you see these charts where, one cow eats, 1 million gallons of water, and like inflated statistics and stuff like that, and it becomes very fear-based, and we respond to that.
Yeah,
and then that's why you see, I think, a lot of switch for veganism, and then a month, 2, 3, 6 months later, they're not vegan anymore.
Right.
I think a lot of that is because if you're starting something in fear,
it's not going to last.
Yes.
It's a quick hit, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a quick fix.
But I think one of the things, I think we hit that pretty good. We know our stance on that. But I think one of the, and people can argue with us, they can DM us or whatever. We'd be more than happy to answer that, email us. But I think one of the things that we need to really look at is, I want to get more on the practical side, but specifically with myself. So let's say I'm transforming, because I feel like over multiple years I've been transforming into healthier eating.
It's like a caterpillar to a butterfly.
Yes, yeah, like a caterpillar to a butterfly.
Jason, you're the most beautiful monarch I've ever seen.
I'm more of a moth, bro.
Yeah, you're more of a moth. Follow the light, Jason. Yes. Follow the light.
I love that Bug Life cartoon or whatever. Don't look at the light.
Don't look at the light. I'm a beautiful butterfly.
Yes. I love that. But when we look at exactly what I'm thinking of that movie now, I'm actually like sensing that.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah,
he's straying apart, yeah.
And the bug like being like source.
Yeah, I need to go back to source. Well, that was a quick route, you know what I mean?
Oh, that's funny. So I look at, like I'll make a salad, I'll sprinkle a little bit of cheese in there. I make sure, I buy my cheese that's organic or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I'll get some shredded chicken or whatever that is farm raised and it's supposed to be happy chickens.
Okay.
that are, or I eat eggs, I have some bacon, There's so many different choices out there. There's paleo, there's raw, there's vegan, there's vegetarian, there's
raw vegan, there's what's the other one? Pescatarian.
Yeah, and then now you have carnivore.
You have carnivore. You have Jainism. You have
which,
I don't know,
like Jordan Peterson, I really follow and listen to. I really like him.
Did we talk about keto?
Yeah, keto.
Yeah, keto. That's keto. Big right now.
Yeah, so that's a big one. Which I think carnivore really boils down to one thing, and that's just you've excluded everything that's causing inflammation.
That's another word for Atkins diet.
Yeah, but I mean it's basically to the point where maybe you were something super allergic to, so you just condensed it down to eating like one thing. You could probably do it if you just ate like
spirulina.
Yeah, spirulina all day long. It would probably cure
my raw living spirulina. Yes, definitely cure your problem. What do you think?
At night, I love it. Today, it's interesting. So, because I do intermittent fasting, if I don't have a big meal the night before and I wake up and I'm on an empty stomach and I drink water and I have raw living spirulina, I get a buzz.
Right to the blood. Bang.
Is that what's happening?
Oh, yeah, big time.
Because I'm like a buzz. Like, I feel like I drank a beer or two.
No, it's awesome, isn't it?
Yeah.
But no, that's like a healthy buzz. It's not toxifying your body. It's detoxifying. Exactly. Pulling out the heavy metals and stuff.
Which drinking a lot of beer is not good for you.
No.
Alcohol is
at its absolute base is a poison.
Right.
And this is not a fear thing, everyone. Right. That's a fact,
I
mean, right?
We've drank beer on the show, so
yeah.
Last time we did, but
we switched to water.
But we're at water today.
Yeah.
But can you do alcohol in moderation, or is there alcohol?
No, there's absolutely no moderation for alcohol that has a positive benefit to the body.
So when
regardless,
we're just making a decision to.
Regardless, it toxifies and it creates a carcinogenic, and it's linked to multiple types of cancers right out of the gate. There's no healthy amount of alcohol that you can do,
So
right?
if you're, I was in a bad habit of drinking like a couple beers a night with my meal. I'm setting myself up for cancer.
Yeah, and do you know how many days it takes for your liver to actually refresh and recycle itself? And when you think, I've had 24 hours and fine, I'm not drunk, well, no, it still takes a long time for the liver to actually cleanse itself, right, to wash that blood.
So if you're, let's say you say, okay, I'm going to have a special occasion, it's Saturday night, I'm going to go on a date, and I'm going to drink a few beers, then if we did that once a week, that's a little bit better. We should get to a process of where if we're drinking a lot of alcohol.
When you really see that it takes maybe a 30-day limit for you to actually cleanse out that alcohol out of the liver
It takes
completely.
30 days?
It's amazing how long bad stuff can sit in your bloodstream.
Right.
And it does. Yeah, you burnt off a lot of the alcohol, but the liver is toxified.
Is there a body hack or something you can do?
Yeah.
That helps?
Yeah, of course. Don't drink anything. There's your damn body hack.
Yeah, there's a body hack right there. You don't need alcohol anyway.
And people are going to contend.
And I'm
like,
saying that, and I have beer in my fridge right now
Right.
as we speak, IPA.
Oh, it's good. It's real good.
Yeah.
And people are going to say, oh, well, you can drink a little bit of wine. It's shown to be good. Yeah. There is good functions to having that fruit, right? That wine that's in there. There's certain enzymes and chemicals that are good for you in it. But you got to remember, it's still paired with a toxic thing that is alcohol.
Right.
And people are going, man, well, you can't have a wine, like blah, 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 just yapping about it.
But I know so many people that drink a bottle of wine every night.
That's a lot. I remember they say you really don't want to have much more than a glass.
Right.
Well, yeah, because you lose the nutritional benefits after that point, right?
Right.
Yeah, you're going to toxify your liver a little bit, but there is a lot of nutritional benefit that does come from it.
Yeah, and that's something that, that people are out there that are struggling with. I know to me, it was just a habit. I really wasn't addicted to it as much. Once I started like drinking more water, then that natural desire.
Feeling that natural high all the time is what we should strive to be addicted to.
Not feeling that buzz or drunkenness.
No, I'm talking about a real high, an energetic high, and you feel so friggin' good. You're blissed out 24/7.
Right. And you, when you start looking at alcohol as poison,
yeah,
and you look at it that way, when you're drinking it, yeah, maybe a social function or whatever, but you know that is something that's negative, not positive.
right. And it's not cool to go out and drink alcohol. You can ask many of the people that know me for a long time. I didn't even touch it. And when I went out to go have a good time with friends, it was club soda and fruit. And no one really gives a shit. They're looking at you and they're like, "Hey, what are you drinking? Vodka?" "No, it's just club soda." "You seem to really enjoying yourself." "Yeah, I know, because I'm actually here in the moment. I'm not here in the alcohol."
Yeah, and
you know
that's
what I mean?
a whole different show.
And that's a whole different show, and it's a different relationship I have with what I'm putting in my body.
But when you're feeling when you're at that optimized state,
oh man,
where you're eating perfect,
Holy
alcohol
crap, feels
actually makes
good.
you feel less, not better.
Right.
So that's something that you have to look at. If you're not at that level and alcohol's making you feel better in the evening,
Yeah.
Or when you're going out or whatever, you haven't got to the point to where you've fully optimized your eating habits. And
People aren't there.
Right.
And when they've touched it, when they've kissed intimately, that feeling inside their body,
right.
they're going to want it again. But 99% of Americans have never felt
They've
that.
never felt that. Yeah.
And when you do feel it, my God, is it something like spectacular.
So feeling that and getting to there, let's be very practical right now. I want everybody to pay attention, because here's where the process that I'm venturing in. So I'll venture more into this myself from off of this. But is there a detox you can do? That's a big word nowadays. What should somebody, if they're eating poorly, pretty much, going out to eat, eating whatever they desire, and they want to start fresh and clean.
Yeah.
And they want this higher conscious.
Right.
They want this high density eating.
Sure.
habits. What should they start off doing first thing?
Very high quality water. That is number one. That is the source of all life on this
Where
planet.
would you get high quality water at?
You can get it from anywhere. You can get it high quality water from Walmart. You buy a case of Essentia, right? Nice high pH water, something that is close to the alkalinity of what your body naturally wants to run its equilibrium at. You got to keep that blood slick. Let's start with that.
Plastic bottles make a difference?
Makes a big difference, right? So plastic, even though it's BPA free, it leaches, but it also changes the... Water's a crystal, and this has been well studied in Japan for a very long time, that depending on the storage of water, the medium that it sits inside of, changes how that water's bond and crystallization actually looks. It can be muddied and it doesn't have a beautiful picture. When you store it in glass and it freezes to something akin to a snowflake, right? And that's when you have water that's in its optimal structured state, right? An energetic state of water. But when you put it in plastic, it destroys that energetic state.
Plus, you got to realize that they're sitting in warehouses.
And it sits in warehouses.
With pallets at 100 degrees.
And people don't think water is a living thing. And it has been proven, and I say that proven, so scientific evidence beyond a reasonable doubt, that water is in fact a living organism.
Well, what's the percentage of our body is made up of water?
Well over 70%.
Yeah, our brain is.
Isn't it funny to see that the ratio of the Earth's water also matches the internal ratio of water in our body, of land to water?
That's a show.
That's an interesting coincidence, is it not?
Yeah,
right?
and then how water responds to love and hate. We're going to get into that.
We'll get into that. Water will be its own show.
Its own show, yeah.
Here's step one for let's do things that are reasonable. Drink high quality, higher pH water, anywhere from 8.5 to 9.5, right?
Mm-hmm.
Make sure it's stored in glass. Respect it when you drink it. And cut out any other liquid you're intaking, right? Let's start with that with your detox, because that'll already start to pull all the toxins. It'll start to clean out the blood, start to pull out the heavy metals, right? It'll allow that water to live inside your body and flush you out.
First thing you can do is start drinking the amount of water you should.
That's correct.
90% of Americans are dehydrated.
Chronically, all the time.
So
headaches, sore muscles, inflammation.
That right there alone is going to cure
a lot of stuff you have.
And how long does it take for them to start feeling it?
24 hours. It has been shown drinking high-quality water in 24 hours changes your blood platelet count and the viscosity of it, so how slick it is for those things to move by. And a person that's going into cardiac arrest over a long time having cardiac failure,
right?
Those blood platelets become rigid, and they're not flexible, and they get stuck. And within 24 hours, you can start to loosen those things up, and the blood becomes more viscous. It can move around. You can free yourself. You can oxygenate yourselves more readily.
Now, is it going to release all the toxins?
You're not
going to feel shitty.
That's correct. It's a natural J curve.
I mean, is that
in the beginning? You're not going to feel good, and you're going to be like, "Why the heck am I doing this? This is not making me feel better." That's because your body is working to find the equilibrium. You're letting the body, as a machine, a highly intelligent machine, go through and begin to flush the bad stuff out of its system. Let the body work. You're not going to feel good. You're going to feel the toxins coming out of the body. Your muscles may become more stiff for a couple of days until they begin to feel better.
Right.
Right? And this
it's like a workout.
It's like a workout.
Yeah, it's going to have sore muscles. Yeah.
Right? So that's step number one. And so let's go into step number two. What's the next thing we can do?
Step number two, I would think, would be to get rid of, go through your pantry, go through your fridge of anything that would be extremely tempting.
Get processed stuff out of there.
Yeah, okay.
Don't buy it. If it's not in your environment, if it's not easily accessible to you, you're not going to eat it.
And you need to look at it as it's all poison.
Yeah.
Like it has the big skull and bones on there. That food is poison.
If there's an FDA label on it, just stay away from it. What an easy thing to do. Let's keep it black and white for people. If there's a label explaining the nutrient profile of it, buy. Time for you to go.
Right.
That's not fresh. It's processed. It had to go to a lab so they could figure out what the calorie count was and the nutrient breakdown, right? We don't need to have that.
So if there's a label on it,
buy.
Yeah.
And if there's a label on it, what does that mean? It's in a package.
Right. Yeah.
So now you're doing social and environmental good just by not buying things that are in packages. And you're doing physiological good for yourself because you're not eating something that's highly processed. So that's maybe that's the second step, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be certain things like chia seeds has labels on them, stuff like that, because they're in a bag.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, but at the end of the day,
let's start easy before we get people just blowing up on chia seeds, right? let's move them into.
Let's get rid of the Fritos.
Yeah, let's get rid of this other stuff first, right?
Yeah, the milk.
Let's be rational and reasonable about it.
So what if somebody is? So that's second step.
That's second step.
We're getting rid of all that. We're getting it out of there. Mm-hmm. Third step would be obviously going someplace to purchase what you need to eat.
No, you gotta have something to eat, right? You're like, shit, I just threw away my entire pantry. Right. My fridge is empty. What do I buy?
Right.
Okay. When you walk into a store, what catches your eye really quick is those bright, beautiful vegetables. Seriously,
right.
they do.
You always look to the right. Or
you look to the right when you walk in. You're like, wow, look at the color of that pepper.
Right.
Did that make you feel good?
Mm-hmm.
Go buy it. Because when you cut it and eat it and cook it, it's going to make you feel that good also.
Or the asparagus, the spears on the end. I love the way they look.
It's awesome, right? Emotionally attach yourself with those things. And you can know that when you're eating those vegetables, you are miles ahead in a healthy choice than you were yesterday. Even if it's 1 degree of change, you're already consciously thinking, it's nice to look at these things. They look at their nice organic form of art. Why don't I purchase those things and bring them into my house? Okay? And it's going to cost you a hell of a lot less than going to get the processed foods.
And you can create art out of them.
Of course you can. That is the art, right? And that's why a lot of Michelin star chefs are so phenomenal, is because it's beautiful to watch these things be plated. Nature's created these amazing things. Look at you. Jason, you're a beautiful creature. No. And
Yeah,
I know it's
I
know it's laughable,
Right.
but in all seriousness, you are a beautiful thing. It's amazing to see that you can walk and think and do all these different functions at once.
Right.
Right? Appreciate that. And appreciate all these other things that
don't have a computer that can do close to what we
do, to process all these different functions at once, right? We are a quantum computer. That's another episode. But appreciate what you do, and then appreciate these other things have evolved with us. So let me ingest these things over time that have been a part of our lifestyles and genetic inheritance. Okay? So these are three. Let's look at those 3 steps that people can do. 1, clean, high-quality water in glass. Start with that. Very easy for you to do. You can get it absolutely anywhere. Okay? Second thing, clean out the pantry. Get the things out of there that are going to tempt you, right? If you have a problem with self-control, get it out of that group. Why do people go back to heroin? Because they hang out with the same people all the time.
Yes.
They haven't changed that social group, right? That's why they relapse. What's the third thing? Go to the store and start to purchase those things that you emotionally connect with, right? Those healthy, organic things, those bright colors that make you feel good. Not the packaged ones, but those organic colors. 3 easy steps. And what's the 4th thing? Let's cut out all those simple sugars. Those are the white devils. What are they?
The white devils.
Milk,
Right.
white rice, sugar, flour, white flour. You can have brown flour, whole grain flour. That's fine. But the more you refine something, like we said before on the show, it becomes a simple carbohydrate.
Anything that's refined, get rid of.
Just get rid of it, right? And those are
Powdered
things.
sugar.
All that stuff is going to be white, okay? And it's typically not alive. It's been pasteurized
Right.
and all those other things, right?
That's my Snapchat name, the White Devil.
The white devil? No, I like that. I like that. That's a good one.
So let's get into, I mean, obviously you're vegan, so you're not going to endorse any type of meats or dairy or anything like that. But let's get into, so next thing would be like, okay, we're buying all these vegetables, but we want to have things with it. So it would be brown rice.
Yep.
What, like beans? Like what type of beans would you
There are a phenomenal amount of legumes that you can have. Green beans, snap peas, soybeans if you don't eat too much of it, right? Chickpeas, Western red kidney or whatever the hell they are, black beans,
How about beans in cans?
garbanzos, like things like that.
Like black beans in a can?
Okay.
What happens when you put them in a can?
When
You
you
lock them up.
when you lock them up. What happens like anybody when you stick them in jail, right?
Right.
And it doesn't really help them, right? So let's apply that metaphor to things that are in cans, right? It's not energetically conducive to that bean, right? You're squandering its life force. The vibrational level, like we talked about before, the angstroms, disappears. So it doesn't have the life force, the light quotient it should have in it.
So the black beans, let's say you want to eat black beans with some brown rice,
Yeah.
and you're going to cut some vegetables up. That sounds delicious already. So I would buy black beans, put them on the stove,
Yeah.
and then I would cook them,
Yeah,
and that would be totally different than what's in a can.
Absolutely. Because when you soak them, you either begin to sprout them or break down that cellular wall, that phytase, that phytic acid.
So what you can do is you can buy regular beans, and they're hard, right?
They are
And
hard,
they're-
yeah.
And then you
Very
put 'em-
robust. They last a while.
And then you put them in water.
Right. Or you can pressure cooker them, however you want to do it. It's like cooking rice, right? Cook it with the lid on.
But you put them in water for how long before they begin? Because you want to eat them right before they sprout?
Yeah, you can put them in for a couple hours, or you can do it overnight and then sprout them. There's so many different things you can do, but the first thing you want to do is soften the bean so that you can cook it and digest it.
So a good way to do it would be just to put the beans in there first thing in the morning, and then when you come home at night, you could cook the beans. They've sit there all day.
Correct. It's
That
like
would be an easy way.
it's like overnight oats.
Yeah.
What do? I get the oatmeal, I pour some fluid in with it, I leave it for a bit. What are you doing? You're breaking down the cell wall so that you can digest and get all the nutrients you want. And if you are like, how the hell do I cook the beans? Oh my God, do I go on YouTube? No, if you buy a pack of beans, organic, Goya, non-GMO beans, it'll have the instructions right on the back for what you have to do.
Yeah.
It's not difficult.
Right.
Okay. And so now we start getting our complex carbohydrates, our protein in there, which people are so worried about. And we start looking, our nutrient profile begins to increase, and we're having a highly energetic food. So now we've purchased all these things, and we have this collection of colors and grains and plant cellulose and energy on our plate that we're now going to ingest. And we're not going to fall asleep after. We're going to feel energized. This is going to be a high-quality food that's going to start to make us feel really, really good. And it will help us in detoxifying the body further.
So you're for vegetables, beans, rice.
Yeah.
What else do you eat? Is there anything else?
Well, I eat grains and vegetables. Oh, and lots of fruits. So why do
you eat? So because there's a big controversy with eating lots of fruit.
No.
So what if I turn around and I buy organic fruit that's frozen in a bag?
Sure.
And I throw it in a blender.
Yeah.
And I make myself a smoothie.
Okay.
What is that? If it's like raspberries, blueberries, mango, frozen fruits, is there anything?
Frozen fruit, if it's not just like a fruit liquid, has the cellulose to it. There's a plant fiber. So there's a balance in your digestive tract, so how those sugars net out with that fiber. So when you're just having fruit juice, right? Not blended fruit, but fruit juice, right? A concentrate. You're only taking the sugars of that fruit.
Yeah, concentrated fruit juice is really bad for you.
When I eat the fruit with the fiber that comes with it, what it does is when that gets into my digestive tract, the sugars are naturally balanced for its processing of the fibers, and it also increases this thing called beta-glucan in my digestive tract. Beta-glucan allows the proper flora, the good bacteria in your gut, to flourish, making that nervous system, which is your second brain, your gut.
They've already proven that.
They've proven that. It allows the probiotic and prebiotic material to flourish properly in your gut so you can absorb the nutrients and feel healthy again.
So your first brain is dehydrated.
Your first brain's dehydrated.
And your second brain
is dehydrated.
And leaky gut.
And
nervous system's all out of whack.
Yep. And
the list goes on and on.
Low pre and probiotic.
Yeah. And then we wonder why we have such huge issues with, like you said, disease.
And I don't have an insulin problem. I've had my blood checked. I have a resting heart rate of anywhere from 54 to 57. My blood pressure is like that of, an 18-year-old girl, right?
You kind of look like an 18-year-old girl. No,
I love it. That's fine. Whatever. I guess I'm androgynous looking.
No, you have... for people, you have to go online and look on YouTube for it. Yeah. Alex is extremely tall.
Yeah.
And you have long hair.
I got long hair.
You got like a man bun in today or whatever, I think.
Yes, I do. I do have a man bun.
You do yoga with the man bun.
I'll do a handstand with my man bun.
Do you wear pink tights when you do yoga?
No, I don't wear pink tights. I do wear short shorts and drive a Subaru, though.
Yes, you do have a Subaru, yeah.
Everybody paint me in a box. That's what I'm in right now.
It's so funny how we have labels.
No, but it's cool. But so, and there's nothing wrong with my blood sugar levels. Nothing. This is not an egotistical bragging thing. I'm in optimal health.
Yes.
Yeah, even my oxygen retention, everything. My skin is extremely clear. I have no acne.
Right.
Okay. Yes, it's part genetic, but the other half or the other 90% of it is my diet. And people are like, "Oh my God, I'm drinking a lot of water. My acne's going away." You bet it is. Mm-hmm. You bet it is, because there's not that toxification in your body and your cells I'm allowing to detox.
You have to realize when you're eating poison and drinking poison, you're turning around and your body only has one reaction to it.
Yeah.
And that's inflammation.
Inflammation.
Or disease. Yeah.
And where do you see that? What is inflammation? It's red. Right. It's pussy. It's carcinogenic, right? You don't want these things. It's not healthy to do. It doesn't make you feel good. So what do? I'll cover up with a Tylenol rather than just changing what's really causing it at the source, and that's what I intake in my body. So fruits. A lot of grains.
Right.
A lot of vegetables. And a lot of seeds. I also eat nuts because they have a high fat content, and I have a lot of oils. And those oils come from olive oils, like stone fruits, avocados.
Like when you cut vegetables up, do you put oil on them?
Hell yeah. Yeah, you have to have that fat. And that fat's...
What type of oil do you recommend people purchasing? Obviously not.
Listen, olive oil is fantastic.
Right.
Safflower, sunflower, walnut oil if you can afford it. Avocado oil. These things are good. These are nice, healthy fats for the body. Right. And the body wants to use it. And cooking with these fats helps the brain function, right? Put your salt in there too. You're going to need some salt because Vegetables are very low salt objects.
Right.
So that'll help with your neuroreceptors and things like that. But the fats help your muscles, your connective tissue inside your body. And it also, ingesting fat, which is the keto side of thing, why keto has a big push right now, is that when you ingest fat, it causes you to burn more of it inside your body. It tells the body, I'm going to target burning fat rather than burning these simple sugars, and then I get tired real quick. This is a longer burn over time. That's why people on Everest, they eat very, very high-fat diets when they're climbing to the top because it gives them a sustained burn of energy over time. So me, not only getting my nutrients and stuff from the vegetables that I need, right, my complex carbohydrates, all of my protein, all of my beta-glucan, all my pre- and probiotics, I put the fats on top of it too. Now I have this beautiful, complex dish that is giving my body everything that is begging for, and it will not throw my body out of equilibrium, the natural state it wants to be in.
And you can make this stuff in 10, 15 minutes. I mean, there's a ton of recipes online.
Or if people do now, what do? They meal prep.
Right.
You have so many options, it's inexcusable to continue to make poor choices.
Right.
Right? That's a function of you haven't taken the time to respect yourself.
Yeah, and I know, like, for me, I do meal prep on Sundays, and then I have my lunches already, and then I can stop and, when it gets past my intermittent fasting time, boom.
Yeah.
I can eat that little meal, and I'm good to go, and I know it's, but I feel like we're missing the point, and we're going to do a whole show on water. I think that would be very, very interesting. I almost just spilled mine.
Yeah, don't spill that. That stuff is liquid gold right there.
Plus we're in a radio studio with lots of
electronics. We'd fry this place.
Byron would love us on that.
Oh yeah.
So let's go ahead. So a way forward out of 90% of the disease, the diet here in America, the way forward on this is those simple steps.
Yeah, keep it easy. Let's not do anything difficult.
Yes. So
let's make slow transitions.
You can start getting into glycemia meters, and let's not get into...
You can get crazy, right? Yeah. And hope that you do later on down the road.
And you can do all this body hacking and stuff like that, but at the end of the day, if you start eating healthy, your intuition's going to kick in even more, and it's going to tell you the things that it needs.
Your relationship with yourself and the world around you, the connectedness of all being one, you begin to feel it. Mm-hmm. You move into the flow state.
Yes, and you've moved into the flow state, and we're become one.
Yeah, and can we just touch on something? Why do you still put bacon on top of your salad?
Why do I still because I absolutely love the taste. Like, bacon is like my number one.
Okay, so you like that short-term taste, right?
Right.
I loved bacon. But what if I told you, outside of the fact of slaughtering the animal and all that other shit that goes into it, what if I told you when you eat meat, it's linked to 6 different types of cancer? As a fact. As a carcinogenic fact, when you ingest it, no matter what amount,
right,
it is linked to a form of cancer. And it makes your body less efficient. Why are you choosing to continue to put it on there? Because you like the taste? I like the taste over the fact of wanting to extend my life.
Right.
Right? I want to increase the likelihood of me developing some sort of dis-ease or disease that I have because I like a little bit of taste right now.
Yeah, so I think it's the same thing as like you were saying with the heroin shot. It's that ability to be able to... and yeah, that would be interesting. I would have to start looking into that more, and because I would want to not be fear-based in the sense where I'm thinking I'm going to get cancer, I would want to look at...
think about it as an efficiency in the longevity of your life, right?
Because I know there's people on both sides of the fence and we can get into that whole argument. And you would need to spar with somebody that's a lot smarter than me in that arena. Well, I'm eating it. I'm eating meat out of a likable thing and then I'm trying to be more conscious in the sense of the types of meat that I'm eating, and I'm eating a lot less than I used to eat. Mm-hmm. So whether it's evolving for me but there are people out there, I mean, as well as I do, Alex, that could argue with you both sides.
Both sides, right? And so if you leave the emotional charge out of it and you look at the scientific fact, the chemical, thermogenic benefits, and the efficiency of what you eat and what you ingest and how that changes your body, its physiology, you realize that the benefits of a plant-based, hopefully a vegan diet, right, outweighs dramatically the benefits of eating meat, no matter how big or small.
But I mean, there's like things like I've seen studies on how great eggs are for you.
Right, and there was a long study by the American Heart Association to talk about eggs, and eggs actually help with your nutrient absorption and the good cholesterol in your body.
Yeah, because one time they said eggs were really bad for you, stay away from eggs.
They
Salt
didn't
was
say
really
that.
bad for
That was
you.
a marketing thing that was going on, right? That was when we moved into, you don't want to have fats, everything was low fat.
Right,
Only to
right.
find out that our low fat society was actually killing us, right? It was doing a lot more harm. Now we've moved into high fat material.
So why would you, as a vegan, why would you not eat an egg? Because it's not harming the chicken.
No, it's not harming the chicken, right? But there's also no necessity to me eating that egg, right?
What if
And
it's
that was
nutrient-dense?
that was the egg as an animal byproduct is nutrient dense, more so than any other type of meat animal byproduct I'd be having. Okay? The egg is. That's a fact, as opposed to any other type of meat.
Right.
But in comparison to vegetables and their protein and nutrient profile, it does not compare. Not even close.
So it's a lower conscious food.
That's exactly what it is.
It's like you said, you're getting your filtered 30 times. It'd be the same as buying vegan protein powder.
Yeah,
Like that's been processed and redefined and ground up.
right.
Why would you not just get your protein? Why are you going 30 sources down?
Why don't you just go right to the source?
Right. It would be the same as any type of protein powder, though, whether it's dairy based or.
Absolutely. And you know,
By the time you get that in that package.
protein powder is also another marketing thing,
Yes.
right? Just because I'm on a plant-based diet does not say that I'm not going to get enough protein. I know people are so worried about that. It's nonsensical. You get everything you need in the body. You don't have to have that protein powder, right? And you
Right.
can eat things that are raw, that are fresh, and you can do that. But the egg was one of the last things I gave up. I held on to it for a long time before I actually moved on and be like, this is the last thing that I need to let go of. And I let go of it, and you want to know something? There's been no negative physiological
course, yeah.
effects to my body. I've only had an increase. And I said, stop being a damn hypocrite, Alex. Get away from it and just go fully into it. Toe that edge, toe that cliff line.
I can understand this, for me, with veganism, I can understand the spiritual aspect of it. I get that.
Yeah.
You know, I can get that part. I just, for me, and that's what I'm saying, I would have to do more studies with it, and I need to be careful what I put in my mouth. And that will cause me to do. But the pseudoscience, the fear-based, you know, on both sides of the house, you know, whether you have corporations doing that
Yeah.
or whether you, I don't like that fundamentalist push.
And I don't want to be fundamentalist. I don't want to be evangelical about it. I've gone through a journey of eating a boatload of meat, from microwaved meals to processed foods, and slowly over my life, I have redacted or taken away the things that don't make me feel good. And where have I ended up?
In a much better.
In a much better place.
Right.
And it just happens to be in the profile of what you would consider a vegan. Not that I jumped to it because it's a fear-based thing for me. It's
Right.
no. I've gone through the keto. I've gone through the paleo. I've gone through the meat only. I've gone through all of these different steps. I've gone through the gluten-free. I've tried all these things. I've been a test on my body. And removing the things that weren't working for me has only led me to one thing: fruits, vegetables, and other grains.
So as you're trying to have a higher conscience, as you're living to be one,
yeah,
it has led you on this journey to this point.
that's exactly
And
correct.
I feel like everybody needs to, we can talk about steps and we can talk about, but at the end of the day, this is your spiritual journey
correct.
that you need to walk through
That we need
without
to learn.
judgment, without labels, without, you know, whether you label, and you can't really, I mean, you've labeled yourself a vegan, but
It's easy for people to understand.
right.
Yeah,
But at the end of the day, you just want to have higher conscious eating
that's what it is.
and to give your body medicine, not
Right.
poison.
Not poison. I want to give it everything it needs so that I can live as long as I can to do the most amount of good for this planet.
I think that's awesome. And so we're gonna end there because we've done over 2 hours.
Cool. Love it.
So we're gonna stop here. Higher density living. We're working on the website now.
It looks pretty clutch so
yeah,
far.
Yeah, so far, yeah, it's pretty good. So we're gonna get that up.
We'll have everything in there for people to contact us at higherdensityliving.com.
Right.
They can put in things that they want us to talk about, disagree with us, scream at us, propaganda. I don't care what it is. We'd love to
wanna
hear
be
all
open.
sides.
Yeah, and then once we start getting information like that, once we start getting it on there with the social media and stuff, we'll print them out,
Yeah.
read them online, grab our phones, and go over what people are saying. Would love to have open dialogue.
We want to
that's
connect
really
with them
important.
because, again, all is one and everything is connected.
Right.
Right.
And I think that's important. Well, thanks, Alex. I appreciate it.
Jason, you're the man.
Okay, cool.
Look within, look within, look within, and live your life on the edge of two worlds. A reality reality where you find true understanding of who you are. The learning is done. Become the teacher in embodying the oneness of all. Walk the cliff's edge between the seen and the unseen realities. Become a higher density being. Please go to www.higherdensityliving.com.